Alright, Mistrino. Mistrino, hello there.
We're going on a boat.
We're going on a boat. This is the USS Constitution. It's a very big warship. So, captains, the first captain, Samuel Nicholson. Who is the present captain? Timothy M. Cooper is the present captain commander. And here our first shipmate Norris. Miss Norris, Captain Norris. What is it?
Do we still shoot the guns?
Sorry?
Do they still shoot the guns?
Do the colours?
Yeah, of course they do.
You know, like in Edinburgh, for the one.
Yeah, just like a.
USS Constitution, the oldest commissioned warship afloat in the world. Now that's our title. It's kind of long, so I'll break it down for you. Oldest, it is 213 years old. Started being built in 1794, was launched October 21st, 1797. Actually, across the harbor, there's a Coast Guard base there now. That used to be Edmund Hart Shipyard. That's where it was built and launched in 1797. Commissioned, it is a commissioned U.S. Navy ship. It is owned and operated by the United States Navy. Everyone you see in uniform is active duty U.S. Navy. And a warship, as you can see, there are guns on board. It was built to go to war. That was their purpose. We can take it to war nowadays, but it'd probably be over by the time we got there. And afloat, that's a key part of our title, afloat. There is a ship that is commissioned and older than us. It's in Portsmouth, England. You guys know what that is?
Victory.
Victory, HMS Victory, exactly. But she's in a dry dock right now. She's not going to see water in the near future. So we're floating right now. We're going away 6 to 8 times a year. And you look us up in the Guinness Book of World Records, you'll find us in there. So if you guys know what was going on in the late 1790s, why we had to start building the ships, you know what was going on, mostly Mediterranean? Barbary pirates, Barbary states. What happened at the end of the Revolutionary War, we gained our independence from the British, and but we lost something very important, our protection from the Royal Navy for our merchant fleet. We had the second largest merchant fleet behind the British, and popular trade route back then was going through the Mediterranean, but it was a big problem. We had the Barbary states in Northern Africa. They would attack our merchant ships, take our men captive, take our, all our goods away from us, so we had to pay about $1 million a year to get all our stuff back. It was a lot of money back then. So we had a few options. We could keep paying off the Barbary states, we could hire another navy, like the Royal Navy, the French, the Spanish, to protect our merchant fleet, or we start our own navy. So in 1794, Congress signed the Naval Armament Act allowing us to construct 6 frigates, including this one right here, the USS Constitution. So that's what we'd say up on the spar deck, because it's raining, we brought us down here. So now welcome to the gun deck. Obviously, you can see why it's called the gun deck. We have 32 24-pound long guns. Now you guys know why they call them 24-pound long guns? Anybody? Because of the size of the shot they fire. Now I don't know, you guys use kilograms or pounds?
Pounds.
Kilograms. I can't convert that for you right now, but anyways, they fire 24-pound cannonball in a shot.
11 kilos.
The guns on the deck above us are called carronades. They fire a 32-pound shot. They have a heavier shot, but a shorter kind of look to them. The range of one of these guns right here is about 1,200 yards, the effective range. And you had a crew of about 9 to 14 guys on a gun. One of the reasons why you had so many guys on a gun is because of how heavy they were. This is cast iron with a wood carriage. Someone take a guess at how much one of these guns weighs in U.S. standard measurements?
2 tons.
About 6,500 pounds.
Oh,
It's very heavy. Think of a Ford Explorer coming at 35 miles per hour when it's shot and recoiled back about 6 feet, so you don't want to stand behind them. So you have all these guns down here, the guns on the deck above us, all the rigging, the sails, and everything like that. Anyone take a guess how many crew members it took to sail the ship back then?
200.
200? A little bit more than that. About 450 to 500 men were stationed on board this ship at one time. Out of those guys, there crew about 50 to 60 Marines on board, and I'll get into them a little bit later. So you have all these guys work very hard. The average workday was about 18 to 20 hours, and they worked up an appetite. What they had on board for food. Well, actually, first I'll ask you, how many cooks do you think there were for all these guys? 50? Okay, you can say there were 2 cooks. One for the captain and one for the crew. So, yeah, all these guys to feed, you know, pretty tough job for that one cook. The guy here for the captain, that was a pretty easy job. What they had on board for food, for the meats, they had poultry, pork, beef and fish, and then they had vegetables and rice and beans and that sort of thing. Now they didn't have refrigeration back then. How they keep the meat fresh?
Salt.
Exactly. They pack it in the salt. Now you can't just eat this meat right out of the salt. There's way too much sodium to take in. So what the cook would do 24 hours ahead of time is put his meat into a steep tub, which is behind you guys over there. It's like this big barrel-looking thing. He full of fresh water and change out the water in a few hours, dilute as much of the salt as he could. Put it into a stew pot, add his vegetables and rice and beans, whatever he's going to make for the day, and put it into the camboose to cook it up. This big black thing in the back right here, that's called the camboose. It's a giant stove. That's where we prepare all his food. Now you have your soup. What goes good with soup? What do you like to have with that? Bread, exactly. What they have was called the ship's biscuit. You guys might have heard it as hardtack. Now this isn't like your Pillsbury, throw it in the oven for 15 minutes, comes out all soft and fluffy. This is flour, water, twice baked in the oven for several hours, can be about as hard as a hockey puck. It's really tough to eat. But that's what they had. It gave a long shelf life that you could store it down below for a long time. So you have your bread and your soup. Now what they have to wash it down? What do you think? Beer? Wine? Close. What they have was called grog. Now grog is 1 part whiskey, 1 part water, and lemons and limes. You guys know what these lemons and limes for? Exactly, to prevent scurvy. And right here in front of me is what a grog tub was like, to be full of your grog. You have a Marine standing by making sure no one got more than their fair share. Each sailor got a pint a day, half that be at lunch, half that be at dinner. And then you have about a gallon of water a day for each sailor. You can do whatever you want with this water. You can bathe in it, wash your clothes, you can drink it. A lot of times the Constitution operated in hot places like the Mediterranean. It gets hot down there, South America, sometimes Africa. So you had to stay hydrated, so they drank most of that water. They probably designated a day out of a week or two to bathe themselves and wash their clothes. It wasn't the cleanest bunch of people, but there weren't any women on board to impress or anything like that, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And I promise you right now, they give us a lot more water nowadays. You don't have to worry about that. So now you have long berth days, you get very tired. We're going to go down below to the berth deck and I'll show you where the crew slept. Now we have a few ladders to go down below. We have 2 right behind you guys right there, and even some more before we start the flight. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we see some sails over the horizon. That's when our captain, Captain Isaac Call, tells the Marine drummer to beat the men to quarters. So he gets on the snare drum, does a drum roll, and everyone starts running around the ship getting ready for battle. They start loading up all the guns. They start getting the sails in the battle configuration. They even start pumping water up from the bilge pumps and spread the water around the deck so when sparks fly from the guns, nothing catches on fire. So this is kind of the beginning of the War of 1812 right now. The crew doesn't have too much battle experience underneath their belt, so they're kind of, really anxious, really nervous, not really sure what's going to go on. As the ship gets closer, it's identified as HMS Guerriere. It's another British frigate about the same size as the Constitution. At that time, the British flag holds up 3 British ensigns, telling us that they want to challenge us to a fight. So we respond by holding up 4 American flags, signaling to them that we're ready to fight. Bring it on. So as it gets closer, the Guerriere starts firing at us at the maximum range of its guns. So it's not too accurate, so the cannonballs just flashing right around us, not really hitting us. But we don't fire any shots back. We have the wind at our back though, we're making good speed, we're catching up to them. They're still firing at us, still haven't fired any shots yet. About 1,000 yards, 800 yards, still no shots fired. Now we're getting to the effective range of their guns, they're starting to hit us a little bit. So it's somebody's job during battle to look out these gun ports right here and kind of assess the damage, what's going on outside the ship while we're getting shot at. So some poor soul pokes his head out here, but he sees cannonballs bouncing off the side of the ship, or they're going halfway through the hull and falling back into the ocean, not causing much damage at all. So he pokes his head back inside and yells to the crew, "Huzzah, her sides are made of iron." This big boost of confidence goes to the crew knowing that the ship is strong enough to get through this engagement. But we still haven't fired any shots yet. We're still getting closer and closer. Now we're at about 400 yards, 200, 100 yards away. We're really close to the Guerriere. They're firing at us now. They're causing a little bit of damage, but we still haven't fired any shots yet. 50 yards away. Now you can see the British sailors looking right at us through their gun ports. And finally, about 35 yards away, the captain yells, "Now, boys, pour into her!" And a full broadside at such close range because of so much damage, it knocks down its mizzenmast into the water. The mizzenmast is the aftermost mast, the one that's right here. Now you can't steer the ship though. That's sitting in the water. It reduces your maneuverability so much. That gives us this opportunity to get into a position called a raking position. Raking is when you cross the T, get to the front of the ship, and fire on the broadside. It's the weakest part of the ship, will cause a lot of damage. Now remember how I said they're kind of inexperienced right now? They cut that corner a little too tight and collided with the Guerriere. There was all this confusion aboard the ship. Are they going to board us? Are we going to board them? What's going on? And that's when Marine Lieutenant William S. Bush yells to the captain, "Now, sir, shall I board her?" As soon as he says that, he gets shot in the face with musket fire. He dies immediately. He was the first U.S. Marine officer to die on board a U.S. Navy ship. So while we're still all tangled up, all rigs tangled up, all this confusion is going on board, the captain orders for another broadside. And while we're at such close range, it pushes us away from the Guerriere, and in turn, the rigging pulls down its remaining 2 masts. So please don't take offense to this, but you no longer have His Majesty's ship carrier, you have His Majesty's canoe Guerriere.
Cool.
But that's how we defeat the HMS Guerriere and how we get our nickname Old Ironsides. But I have to ask you guys, is there any iron on the side of the ship right here? There's no iron inside the ship. It's made from a very special type of wood. It's only found in the southeastern United States. It's called live oak. It's about 5 times denser than white oak, which is most Navy ships were made out of back then. And if you look at the gun ports or on the deck above us, you'll see 3 layers of wood. There are 2 outside layers of white oak, which is light and buoyant. That really dense, thick layer of live oak right in the middle. So the Constitution has been through some pretty good history. There's been 33 engagements, no losses. We call it here Boston's only undefeated team.